Hi all, I have an incredibly instructive game to show you from round 8 of the Weekend Z tournament in the Netherlands. In round 8, Vassily Ivanchuk, who had been doing very well in the tournament, met Wesley, the Philippines Grandmaster, up and coming, still very young and getting into the absolute world elite of the game. So 2-7-6-2, the last time they met, and Ivanchuk lost their previous encounter. Ivanchuk was distraught. He was on the verge of giving up chess. So would he be getting revenge on Wesley in this game? Let's see what happened. E4. Thankfully for chess fans, by the way, Ivanchuk did carry on with great tournaments up until this tournament, which he was also doing fantastically well. He's a very imaginative and creative player. So Wesley played E5. After knight f3 we have a Ruy Lopez, and now knight f6, castles, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, standard stuff, castles, and often here players with white will play c3, which could invite the dreaded Marshall Gambit, which some players with white really don't like. It's meant at the highest levels to be quite drawish. The Marshall Gambit by Frank Marshall is this gambit with d5, where you give up the e5 pawn, but you're removing a defensive knight. So stuff like this is the Marshall Gambit, where black's looking forward to some sort of kingside attack, and often the games at the highest levels are ending in draws. But Vassily Ivanchuk plays an anti-Marshall move in this position. It's actually the second most popular move, h3, which deprives black of that g4 square and tries to discourage now d5. So d5 is not played usually after this. For those interested, d5 is not meant to be that good in this position. There's less counterplay here. c6, d3, and this is very, very different actually. This position is meant to be okay for white, a slight advantage for white it's meant to be, so for the opening theoreticians. h3 is basically an anti-Marshall move. Wesley reacted with bishop b7. Now we see d3, and lo and behold here, the usual move is d6, about 900 games in Livebook, but Wesley played d5. This has also been played quite a bit. Very aggressive idea to still give up the e5 pawn. And this bishop, of course, is looking good on the diagonal in principle, but is it really that dangerous? Is it really worth giving up this centre pawn, this e5 pawn here? Very interesting position. Can it really be justified? A centre pawn, after all, you'd think. The grandmasters are very careful, especially with their centre pawns, let alone other pawns. E takes, knight takes. Now here, if taking immediately, this is well known actually, knight takes e5, taking immediately on e5, because there's knight d4, it's kind of weakness of the last move, to grab this bishop, and often this position here is okay for black, even though he's a pawn down. He's getting this light square bishop, and it's meant to offer some good play for black after queen d5 here. So again, stuff for the opening theoreticians there. Black has the bishop pair, and interesting dynamic prospects. Note also the double pawns for white give black certain compensation as well. But yeah, if we go back, knight bd2 was played. This is the rarer move in this position. Knight takes e5 is the main move over 100 games, but knight bd2 was played. Slight little snag about this move. The f4 square is not covered, you'll see, from that bishop. It slightly blocks that bishop for the moment. And Wesley persists here in offering the e5 pawn. Often in this position, f6 is played to support e5. There's another interesting move, knight f4, but f6 is the top move. This move, only 4 games in Livebook. Vassily Ivanchuk now perhaps wondering why he can't take the pawn on e5. It looks a bit crazy. What is this? Has Wesley gone mad now? In this particular position, can he afford to give up that centre pawn? Has black taken liberties here? Surely, if you're playing white, you take on e5 now. What is really the danger? There might be 1 or 2 threats on g2, but can't they be parried? Can't this diagonal be blocked with a later knight f3? Let's see, knight takes e5, pawn up, centre pawn. Rook takes e5. One small issue from before though, the bishop's blocked, and so f4 is available to the knight. But surely now, okay, two pieces are coordinating. Is that the end of the world on g2? Why can't this just be blocked? Why can't white just be a pawn up here after knight f3? But here we reach a position where I believe could be considered as one of the most shocking moves of the tournament. And as is sometimes the case with super shocking moves, they're not actually dreamt up at the board, but rather in analysis from previously. And in fact, there's some analysis creeping around here in Wesley So's head, which may not have been in Vassily Ivanchuk's head. And it's such a shocking move that even computers cannot actually fathom it. It seems it's like it's the equivalent of one of the Superman films where the computer didn't know what was about to hit it. Here, computers just do not see the shock impact of this next move. If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play here with black, starting from now? Okay. Well, not bishop d6, because we can actually just snap off this knight. We're actually hitting this knight now after the last move. So it's not only fending off g2. There's not knight takes h3. This is not enough. There's adequate defensive resources here, including things like maybe bishop d5 as well. So it's not about that. No, it's knight takes g2, and maybe this really shocked Vassily. It is a real shocker. What on earth is this about? Where is the support for this knight sack? It's one pawn chipped away from the white king. One pawn only. The thing is, it creates quite a nasty pin. In this position, king takes g2 was played, which protects, by the way, h3. If there's any other ideas, you've got to be careful about h3 here, like rook takes. You've got to consider queen takes h3. So yes, king takes g2, and what on earth is this about? But here's the real shocker, and this shows actually the immense resources that chess has in it, which even can dumbfound computers. And it was based on Giri analysis by Giri, no less than Giri, in New in Chess, March 2014, which I think will pick up a few new subscribers based on this analysis. If they can get analysis from Super GMs, which rips apart king positions, I think that magazine will get some more subscribers. So in March 2014, there's an amazing idea black has here. Can you see it? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video here, so black to play and bring more resources into the attack against white's king. I'll give you 5 seconds starting from now. An incredible idea. a5, simply a5. It's dual threats of a4, but also the a6 square for switching a rook across. What a concept. Unbelievable. For white to survive this, he actually needs to play really accurately. Apparently this has occurred at least twice in high-level correspondence games, with white choosing to play c3, which matches the move in Giri's analysis. c3 creates an escape route for the bishop against a4, and also the bishop can help defend against the rook g6 in some lines. This wasn't played. It's very technical stuff with c3. For example, like this, d4, the check here. This is nasty to parry. This coordination here starts to be a lot of fun. You know, if knight e1, we take here, and we've got an attack going on. Black keeps the attack going, according to Giri. And yeah, I mean, what is white actually doing here? It seems that this bishop is not really helped by this one. This one at the moment is struggling to help defend f3. And if we ever play d5, then we have bishop d6 going into another pin. Potentially is really, really dangerous. So it's a nasty position. A5, it's an absolute shocker. It's multiple threats to deal with, 2 threats to deal with simultaneously, A4 and Rook A6. Vassily Ivanchuk chooses, after taking A5, he plays actually Rook takes E7. It's a good idea in principle to rob the opponent of the bishop pair. The bishop pair can often be used to weave mating nets, very dangerous attack, so he's taking out that dark square bishop. Seems sensible in principle. Wesley so apparently played this line just trying for a draw, by the way. He only expected a draw from this line. And with black at this level, you know, drawing black is good. But yeah, queen takes E7. And you start to see this is a really unpleasant position. And engines don't really understand the pain of pins, that immobilized piece there, or pieces coming into the attack when there's actually defensive resources sitting like spectator pieces. These are very easy for us to observe intuitively. We don't have to calculate these observations, we can just make them. We make the observations. Computers have to calculate based on Rook A6 and G6. We can feel the pain because we can see the issues. Just visually we can see the issues. We don't need if then to spell the issues out to us, that there's more pieces joining the attack. C3 played now, maybe a bit too late. Okay, D4 and bishop C2 look like good ideas for this bishop to get back in the game and get out of the glare of A4. You might think, hold on a sec, hold on, why didn't white just play A4? You get an idea of the attack with Rook A6. It's just really vicious, this diagonal here. What is white doing there? So yes, so Ivanchuk's play, he's trying to be cautious, so he's got rid of the bishop pair, he's making way for the bishop to retreat, but this rook comes in. D4, and now Rook F6. The check was also good here. This was also a good move as well to consider. This is very, very dangerous, this position. But Rook F6 is very, very dangerous. How does white play this? He plays D5. And now we get this A4, even though the bishop's got C2. Wesley so is inviting the bishop to cover G6. It's an outrage. He's actually pushing the bishop to cover G6, but there's a downside. The D5 pawn is now weaker. And now Wesley hits D5. So he's keeping the pressure on the F file from the rook. What an amazing position. And you might think, well, hold on, what about, aren't there resources for white here, like bishop G5, rook takes D5, if we take here, queen takes, it's trouble, this position here. Very dangerous. What do we do about F3? Takes, check. We're winning the queen. As an example, we're going to be winning the queen. So yeah, queen G3, and then we can win that queen against the rook and bishop. So yeah, really, really dangerous stuff here. Even after this, like bishop G5, very, very dangerous stuff. So queen E1 was played, and okay, queen D7 now, which actually carries the threat rook takes F3 followed by queen takes H3. Vassily played now against this to try and parry this. Knight G5. I don't think other things fare that well. I mean, it looks dangerous to hit H7 and useful to pivot to E4. If we look at some other things just briefly, queen E4, we can have check and then take here. It's really dangerous for white. Queen F4, rook F6. Look, we're skewering. So yeah, knight G5. He's trying to defend this position, but it might be indefensible. The knight is just kicked. Goes to E4, but then blocks G6. Now rook G6 check. King H2. Now white's position just comes tumbling down. This move just kicking the knight again. Where is the knight going? All these forcing moves. White's getting kicked around with forcing moves all the time. But this diagonal has a horror to it after knight G3. Queen takes D5 threatens mate now. Not only this bishop has been less than useless, This one is being supercharged with this battery to threaten mate now with Queen G2. Wesley tries to defend with Queen G1, but now a real bone-crushing move is played in this position, which ends white really, it terminates white. Can you see what it is? It's actually the final move of the game. And Ivanchuk, after seeing this move, on video, he spent many minutes out at the board just to convince himself it was totally lost. So what's this move which just really ends white here, do you think? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. Okay, not rook takes G3, by the way, because FG and then what? Although even this position, actually, Queen D2 is dangerous. Even this position is crushing. So pardon me. In this position, rook takes G3 might actually be the strongest move technically, just to allow FG. But it seems like neater, Wesley's move, it's the second choice for engines actually, Queen F3. Seems neater blocking that pawn. And, you know, for Queen E2 now as a mechanism, with rook takes G3 here, Queen E2 is the idea. As an example, if rook B1, well, Vassily just looked at this position for about 20 minutes or more. You know, if rook B1, as an example here, same mechanism there with Queen H1, but also this Queen E2 business. It's nasty. Look at white's king's been shredded. There's disconnection issues and everything. The other point is, the neat point though, is this bishop E3. There's queen takes E3 here. Ouch. And then rook D2. Same sort of thing as before. All of white's pieces are being vacuumed up. Yep. It's nasty stuff. So this final position is absolutely devastating the way it was played. I mean, I initially thought, you know, it's better than rook G3. It turns out rook takes G3 is the most accurate. It's incredible. The attacking potential here. Queen D2. What is white doing? This line. Incredible. White's still getting like vacuumed. Is a bishop down, minimum there. It's a shocker, and it's also a bit tragic. I found I wasn't really initially going to cover this game. I mean, Vassily Ivanchuk is one of my heroes, and in a way, it's kind of preparation game. You know, does everyone really need to read the new in chess to stay ahead of analysis? But yeah, if there's lethal analysis and you're a professional, then I guess having as many information sources about lines you don't want happening to you is a good idea, because you end up going there, spending an entire day, and then all the regret after. You might be playing more passively in later games because you're licking your wounds. It's a hard time to be a chess professional, to try and keep in touch with all the information. But to Wesley's credit, you know, he played the execution of this fantastically well. I mean, near optimum execution of this, and he was only expecting a draw. Actually, he played it only for a draw with black, and perhaps was a bit surprised with the rook takes E7. So yeah, I mean, credit to both players. Wesley for creatively trying to defend, but yeah, Wesley kept on top of things with his trump cards here. It's just a devastating position. It's just one of the most shocking concepts I've seen from the tournament. The knight sack followed by A5, which seems like a quiet move after a knight sack. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.